our research is each book is quite big for each market. It's about 90 pages long. It's an in-depth piece of market research meant to be used by consumer goods companies. It'd be ridiculous to try to present that, but what the challenge was to try to show you some movements and dynamics in the market that might show the future for sustainability. And nobody's saying this is going to happen today, but this is an indicator of what potentially is coming and what I think is coming. So the first chart says, we asked, GP stands for general panel or general population, so it's the whole panel result. And LOHAS, we want to zero in on this consumer. So here we see that we ask the question, is the environment important and here to stay, or is the news of the talk of the environment just a fad? It's going to go away. So in terms of it being here to stay, we can see 3/4 of the Chinese believe that the topic of the environment is a long-term, forever topic, and one that should be factored in. Now, I'm not an expert at all in investment, but if you're trying to factor in decisions for investing, you're looking for stable factors, I believe. There's a stable factor if ever I saw one. It's not going to go away as a factor you consider in your investment analysis. Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, actually those countries that have the worst environmental situation or the worst record tend to be the ones where the impact clearly is felt the most. Interesting, Hong Kong, still ignoring the fact that maybe it's not the cleanest place in the world. And again, that does make Hong Kong an interesting phenomenon, and just one that we have to sort of get our heads around and understand how we attack it in that respect. So then we look at behavioural change, because normally speaking, if you believe that the environment is going to continue to be a problem, you're going to start to become more actively involved in changing your personal behaviour. And we find that in Indonesia there's the most active personal change going on, which again can seem somewhat surprising on the face of it. Philippines and Thailand, these are places that have very aggressive places to live in terms of pollution issues, traffic issues. It's just a hard place to get around if you're living in their city. And so they're trying to do things, there's backyard recycling, there's backyard gardening, things going on in these cities that's very, very substrata. It's very interesting. And a big behavioural change from China as well, with over 80% of people making some small change. It could be the smallest of all in terms of recycling more than they used to, or preserving more water. We asked the question about CSR. It comes into play many, many times in all these discussions. Is it actually important when it comes to buying stuff? First of all, do people think it's important for companies to practice CSR? That means to actually practice CSR, not just say they practice CSR. And here the numbers are really high. If you look at the circles, the general population, you've got numbers in Philippines and China over 95%. It's pretty much universal, saying it's important. Within the LOHAS community. And then even with the general panel within China, over 85% saying that it is important that the company is mindful of its impact on the environment and society. That's all well and good, but then would that make you more likely to try or buy their products if you knew they were? And this is what this next question asks. And here we start to see some very, very high follow-throughs in the general panel numbers. So I'm always focusing on the bigger markets. So in Indonesia, 88%, China, 87%, India, 79%. So huge numbers, 8 out of 10 and plus, saying that they're more likely to try if they understand. So here's a question of communication. If you're a company that really does practice it, then communicate it correctly, and then people will start to engage you more. Often the problem is actually miscommunication, poorly understood, and people they're not believing it. So then to get more into shopping behaviour, one of the biggest barriers to purchase, price we'll come on to. Second one is availability. People saying, I can't find it, I don't have access to it. So we asked the question, if it was available where you shop, would you be more likely to try it? And again, we see some huge numbers. So Philippines, 90%, Indonesia, just below 90%, China, well above 85%. So a general demand. This is just indicating general demand for more availability. The crunch question really is about, would you pay more for it? And then if you would pay more for it, how much more would you pay? We know from the sort of case studies in the States, 20% premium to the average price in any category is acceptable. Actually 50% in new markets is wearable, but as it gets to a mature market, 20% is about all they'll wear. They won't take any more than that. You can't sell it. And we're talking about in markets like now, where I don't know what it's like in Hong Kong, but I can tell you in Singapore, these kind of products are like 3 times more expensive. So clearly they're not going to be, you're not going to buy organic carrots when they're 3 times more expensive than your normal carrot from China. So this is the issue that's going on at the moment in the marketplace. But if they could price it acceptably, what would happen? And we see some amazing numbers. The blue column means they agree completely with this statement. Now, that is a really high intent to purchase if you agree completely, and usually has a 90% translation into actual purchasing habits. So let's just focus on the blue column. Australia, they're cynical as hell, and that's because it's a very mature market. It's got to the point where they say, well, everything should be organic and everything should be the price. They don't wear the fact that it should be any difference in price. That's normal in a very mature market. And Singapore, I believe, is down to this whole issue of price. They're just fed up with it in Singapore, and we need education. But look at India, look at China, look at Indonesia. Over a quarter in India, in the panels that we have, in the top 3 cities, basically firmly in the middle class, saying they are prepared to pay 20% premium for these products. Again, in China, a quarter. In Indonesia, nearly a quarter. These are exceptionally high numbers in any market research study. So that's about it, and I do want to open some time for questions. But we are therefore trying to use this data now to, where possible, accelerate the whole issue of sustainability. So we do such things as education and application. So we have a public website, if you like, a consumer website, where we'll be trying to identify the LOHAS consumers in the market through use of social media tools. So we'll be asking them to put their hands up and say they're LOHAS, or they live a LOHAS life. We're going to then try to collect them together and then try to mobilize them. So this is an ongoing project, probably 2-year project, where we'll try to do that. We're trying to connect small businesses, because the nature of sustainability comes through innovation currently. Innovation typically will come from startup or entrepreneurs, and it's no different in the world of consumer goods. So we have a free online network. One way you can describe it, it's like a LinkedIn for sustainability, but it's business level, not individual level. So we've just launched that 2 months ago. We have 200 companies globally just signing up, probably averaging about another 20 to 30 every 2 weeks. So that's very small, very insignificant currently, but if we can keep it building, at some point we'll get traction. Research I've just talked you through. I do a lot of this sort of thing, which is just speaking about it and try to spread the word, and obviously we try to network.